regular system, as you say. But I was just out at events where I heard some amazing work fresh off the minds of people that were writing it. And I said, please let us publish that. And people are so generous. I'm going to set this down before I make a huge mess. But the theme of this last issue, you may or may not have noticed from what we've been hearing, because not everything was in here, but it was world music, indigenous music, ethnomusicology. We stepped way out, so we didn't get enough to publish. Everything that's published is not in this theme, but the next couple are. And first, we're going to bring up Francis McGrath. I met him. He's also an incredible bass player. If anybody here likes bass players, that's a secret joke.
Worth their weight in gold.
Well, I'll start with the piece that Tony generously put, and thank you again. It's called Jessie Garon Presley. If you're reading along in your hymnals, it's on page 4. Elvis had a twin, a brother, another, identical, inseparable, a soul to his soul, a Garon to his Aaron. But Garon had a lifeless life. Did Garon instead live to give? Was he a soundless song, a string on a bow of an otherwise arrowless Aaron? If so, where is the force of a million soul-dead selves who drain their essence in their worthless work, who glaze over their light in hours of visionless television? Do they feel as empty as Mrs. Presley's childhoodless child, or are they just pawns in a kingless kingdom? I love when weird connections happen, and this, another poem I wanted to read is about a nun, and we heard a lot about nuns a minute ago. This came up because I was telling somebody that I spent a couple years in a Catholic school, and they're like, oh, how horrible. It really wasn't. And so this is kind of the bright side of Catholicism. It's not all bad. Just get some of it wrong. But it also, I connected this one because this is an homage to Johnny Cash. So we're going from Elvis to Johnny Cash here. The particular school I went to, the principal was Sister John. And I was explaining to somebody how strange that was, and he said, a nun named John? And then all the wheels started going.
Oh, there you go.
As a kid, I was always up to no good and grew up in a rough neighborhood. I was young, strong, and oh so full of brawn. I thought I was as tough as they get, but the meanest person I ever met was a nun that went by the name of Sister John. I've been in trouble, even been in jail. Then one day a priest posted my bail and said my thieving days were at an end. He told me prison life was just too cruel, and he'd pay my way through Catholic school. Though I weren't Catholic, I sure could pretend. I walked in that place as cocky as could be, but Sister John grabbed a hold of me, and soon I realized I had made a mistake. She chewed me out before I got down the hall, then yelled at me every day that fall. Man, she was meaner than a rattlesnake. To be fair, I got in trouble most every day. I was in detention from September till May, but I wasn't going to let her push me around. In the back of the church one day I'll never forget, I was quietly smoking a cigarette when she came up behind me without making a sound. She tried to grab my ear, but I pushed her away, so she grabbed my wrist and we started our fray of pushing, dodging, hitting, kicking, and cussing. We spilled the holy water and broke the stained glass. I soon realized she'd probably whoop my ass, so I decided it was time that I go all in. I pulled out my knife, but dropped it just as quick because she wrapped my knuckles with a big old yardstick. And from out of nowhere, she whipped out her paddle. It had holes drilled in it for extra sting and finesse, and a couple of rusty nails just to give you tetanus. I knew I was outgunned, and I gave up the battle. I fell to the floor and started to cry. She sat down with me and let out a sigh. She said, "So sorry I had to beat the hell out of you. I've been teaching boys for 20 years. It's a whole lot harder than roping steers, and it made me tough through and through." To my surprise, she wiped off my blood, dried my tears, and gave me a hug, then said a prayer and a few intentions. She kept my knife, and that made me mad, but this time she wouldn't tell my dad, and finally sent me down to detention. If I ever have a son and he starts going wrong, and if this principal at school ain't that strong, I know I'll intervene before he's too far gone. I'll tell him straight he's acting a fool, and I'll pull him out of whatever school and send him off to learn from a charter school, a boarding school, Hogwarts, anywhere but Sister John. I still hate that woman. We had a Trump poem to start, and I refused to waste my writing energy on doing something. But I want to ask, has anybody experienced the phenomena of having Trump show up in a dream? Oh, it's horrible. So instead of giving voice to that, this is a different dream I had, and I just felt let's go a different direction entirely. So it's called a Martian Bar. The dusty air blows in when anyone opens the door. The rhythmic tapping of dust and rock as the wind sustains its roar. The furniture was destroyed over time, leaving only the bar carved out of the same rock as the walls and door. On the bar is attached a metal statue, an alien form, a naked female. A species long extinct, but beauty is eternal. Eros is universal. She intrigued me. Perhaps a dancer sipping warm liqueur off the lips or beaks or maws of the patrons. And one last one. I'm also a keyboard player, and I'm just finishing up my second album. It's called Trains in the Night. It's instrumental music over recordings of trains, and we're going to have a big CD release party coming up soon. There is one song that has lyrics in it, recorded through a vocoder, so it sounds like a robot singing. And this was published in the Diversity from the Austin International Poetry Festival. It's called Destinations. Passing notions wash over us at night without criticism, without cynicism. Daytime routines are nocturnal comforts, like rewatching Casablanca. There are no destined nations. Different destinations, one procession. Different rhythms, one harmony. The same tracks still pass Walden Pond. We can simplify or watch life fly by, passed over people, disconnected, grounded to our homes, grounded to the sea. Our beds rock with the ocean waves. Thank you.